Okay, welcome everyone. This is Keshlin Reddy from Etiquini Water and Sanitation Survey and GIS Department. This is video number 5 in our video series for publishing projects from ArcGIS Pro to Trimble TerraFlex. Okay, video number 5 is about editing of forms and symbology on Trimble Connect, and also for setting up field users. Okay, so as a quick recap, video 1 was prerequisites for having a system like this to work, the things that you need, the software and access licensing devices that you need to make it work. Video number 2 was creating and setting up the GDB for publishing. Video number 3 was creating the online projects in Trimble Connect, and video number 4 was publishing the project on Trimble Connect. If you haven't seen those videos, please go back and have a look at them, as this video number 5 is building on the previous 4. Okay, so what we have done is that we have now published the fields, the feature classes that we want field users to do data collection on the ground. Okay, so here we are on the screen. We have our map viewer for water outlet devices phase 8 and the 4 feature classes. Okay, so these are the 4 that we want to be seen on the field devices and data collected. We have done the bulk of the donkey work in setting these up. We just need to make sure that everything is in order, that the forms make sense when someone's collecting it. You wouldn't want questions to jump around. You want it to be in a flowing and logical manner. We attempted to do that within ArcPro, and most of it should have come through in that order, but we will still check and ensure that they are. One of the important things that we are going to do here is input some conditions into these data dictionaries to ensure that unnecessary questions or reliant following questions are either asked or not asked. It depends on how a field user answers the form. Okay, let's have a look first at the GPS point. We're going to click on the edit button here. Okay, let's just go through a few things on this before we do any changes to it. We cannot edit these fields. These were all set up in the GDB. That's the first thing that you need to make peace with. As you can see here, this template is locked and it cannot be edited. That is to ensure that the geodatabase integrity is maintained and data can be pushed back to the ArcMap, the ArcGIS Pro project. Okay, so this is a GPS point. As alluded to earlier in previous videos, it's just a very basic data collection point. Okay, we just want to leave it as the name, and that's it. That's what the field teams will see. We're not going to set up an image as a preview field. It is a point. Remember earlier we set it up to 30 seconds for averaging. We're going to allow digitized positions. That means field staff can click on a map and pick up a point. It's useful as sometimes they might want to geocode a point that's a few meters away from them, that's inaccessible, and they are allowed to do that if you allow digitization. Okay, form geometry must be captured. Yes, that must be captured. Enable accuracy based logging. No, we don't want a pre-specified accuracy to be met before a point can be logged. We leave that blank. Logging behavior: when the field staff opens the point in the dictionary on the device, it will automatically start logging should it have a fix from the satellites. Any repeating fields, we want to repeat automatically. And then finally, enable field update behavior. Any updates on the field with any preset conditions will update. Okay, so that's just the overview of this window. Now let's look at the fields. You can't add any more fields. That's data, because as I said, it's locked by the GDB. You can put things into groups and page headings. There really is nothing more you can add to this. Okay, now let's look at the fields. Let's look at the name. It's a required field. Okay, let's go back to our ArcGIS Pro and let's look at this GPS point. Let's look at the data engineering. Okay, these fields here that I'm going to highlight now are all the auto fields. Okay, so we're not just going to disregard that for now, and just these two fields here that we had earlier on, the name and the description. As you can see, the name allow null was ticked off, and then for description, allow null was ticked on. When it's ticked on, when it's ticked off and it's visible, it has become a required field in our form. We're not going to set repeating on and no rules, because this is just a very basic data dictionary. And then we got the description. It's not a required field, so you can leave it blank. Okay, so those were the basic two data entry points that we want on this data dictionary. Okay, then you look at collector, device ID. None of it's visible. When publishing, we did leave that box checked to make these fields non-visible to the user. So these are all hidden, and the images was the attachment field. That will also be visible. Images are not a required field, and this is something that we are requesting Trimble to ensure that we're able to tick this box even if we publish from a geodatabase, that we want it to be required. Okay, as it is for now, it's not required, so field teams will be informed that photographs where they do see the button is required. Okay, let's just hit the publish button, republish. That means it's now available to the field teams. But before we can make it available to the field teams, we are required to add the field teams to this project so that they have access to this map and those feature collection points. Okay, let's just change the symbology of this. Click on the symbol. It's very limited here. Let's make it red and say save. You can change the name, the alias name of this feature class. Okay, let us next look at the water leak. It's also a very simple data dictionary. Okay, so it just was leak size, remarks, and image are the required fields here. Going back to ArcPro, let's open the data engineering for this. Just close this out. Okay, so just the size and remarks. Again, allow null is ticked off and it's visible. That then means it is a required field. We will not set any default here. This is pulling from the domain. we're not going to set repeat on. Repeating means if you capture this point again, what you entered here will then automatically reappear in the new point that you are collecting. This is important in case you are capturing things that are common, where you need to say all the water leaks in this example are medium, and you can see I'm going to capture, there's quite a few more down that are medium in size. You can set it as the default, and that will then ensure that every time you open the points it will default to medium. With the repeat field, it will repeat what you last captured for the previous point on the ground. Okay, the marks are open text fields and then images. So we just want the leak size there. Everything else remains the same. Nothing we could add besides groups, just the editing the layout. And let's say publish and republish. Okay, so meters installed, water it's blue, let's leave it there. The water leak, let's make this one dark blue. And the outlet devices, let's try and make that like orange to stand out, just to say that we've changed it. Okay, so we've done GPS point and water leaks. Okay, let's look at now meters installed. This is where it starts getting a little bit more involved. Okay. Once again, everything here is already set. Question is, do you want the field staff to be able to digitize a water meter or not? Yeah, it could be where they might need to use a situation like this. They might be under a roof. A lot of water meters are under structures, so what they will be able to do is still be able to store a point even though not GPSed. By opening the map on the device, it will take them to the last known location, which should be very nearby where they're standing, and they can identify themselves under a structure and then more accurately represent the position of that point on the map. The only issue with digitization of a point is that you haven't collected enough, or you have collected no GPS data to allow post-processing, but it will be good enough. Okay, now we need to just ensure that the order of the fields makes sense to a field user that's going to be collecting these points on the ground. Okay, so we will start with the dwelling number. The one thing you can do here is reorder these data entry fields. It does not, however, change the order in the geodatabase. This is just display. Okay, the next one will be the connection number. Okay, no repeats on dwelling number, they're unique as well with the connection number. The reason why we made this a required field is because when you are installing a meter, you must have a connection number so that we are able to link that meter on the ground to the correct account. Then you got the connection type. Okay, important to know what type of connection we're putting in the ground. After connection type, we want to know if it is a straight through connection. Reason being, if it is a straight through, that means there is no meter, and it won't ask you that question, and that's when conditions are going to come into play. Then we got the life cycle status, the condition, Is it leaking? Remarks, and then lastly images. Okay, so we need to now add a condition to say if it's a straight through, not to ask um, for a meter number because there is no meter there. Okay, so let us go into rules. Okay, the target field will be the meter number field, right? We want it to be disabled when the condition on a straight through field is answered. It's either yes or no. If the straight through connection is yes, disable the meter number entry field. So that's all it will do, and the rest of the questions will continue as normal. Okay, let's save that. Okay, so as you can see now, it's the draft template. So any edits that we've just made hasn't been published or will be seen by any of the field users who have access to this form. Let's just go back and click publish, republish. Okay, I just picked up that we need to change something else here. Meter number, that's what we want the preview to see, and the dwelling number. Publish, republish. By hitting the publish button before save, it automatically saves it. Okay, and then lastly we will have to edit the water outlet devices. Okay, in this feature class as well, we are to reorder some of these fields to ensure that it makes sense for a field collector. It makes flowing sense. Okay, what we're going to start with is we're going to dump the verification status right at the top. Okay, where did it go? Okay, doesn't like to move. Okay, in this verification status, if the field crew says it does not exist, none of the subsequent fields should be answered because there is no information. The reason why we have a does not exist here in this particular instance is because field crews are required to go to these points and log a point at the location of where they expected to find the outlet device to say that yes, I've been here and there is nothing here. So the log a point in the market does not exist. That's purely for order tracking purposes. A trail is generated because this information eventually ends up in our central GIS databases where the point is removed, and we have a reason or a record proving that yes, we've been to the location, there's nothing there, it has been removed, demolished, whatever the case is. It could be vandalized and removed, taken for scrap or whatever other reason, but we found no device, outlet device at that location, and that was the reason why we removed it from the central GIS database. Okay, so I'm just going to close this for now. Let's reorder this to make sense. The next one is the outlet device type. connection number here. It's not a required field, it's only if available. Then we want the base number, the concrete base number, the flow type of the device, the flow type of the device number if available, the street name, the life cycle status of the outlet device, its condition, and then the meter details, meter number, remarks, and then finally images. Okay, here again we need to add conditions. Okay, so let's go here. Basically we want, okay, no, okay, let's make all of these targets. Okay, all of them are targets, so we'll just leave the image on in case the teams who are on the ground want to take some images at that location. It's not required, so they can leave it blank. Okay, so basically every other field is now a target field. Condition, if exactly matches, does not exist. Okay, let's do it in reverse. If it exists, enable the rest of it. If it does not exist or if its query are unable to verify, it must remain disabled. Okay, it's gonna save that rule, save that one, and the other one again is the condition for a water meter that we need to add. It's still a draft. Let's go back in there. Okay, let's go to rules, let's create rule. Let's just make the meter number the target. Enable if the water emission is exactly matches, yes. Save. Okay, one of the important things here with the water outlet devices, or any fields for that matter, you need to remember if certain fields were set to requiring a value. In this instance, the meter number, let's go back here and open the data engineering for the field settings for the outlet devices. Fields, let us look at the meter number, field. It was visible and null values when not allowed, so that means it's a required field. So what we will do here now is, because we are taking and blocking out this meter number field if the meter if there's no meter present. We need to be able to ensure. Interesting, something's changed since the last time I looked here. Okay, the default value will be 0, but we can't enter it here. We might get a few errors when it's downloading, but it will not prevent the download. A prior version of this, if I remember correctly, I might be wrong, we were able to put a default value here, but it's not a showstopper in this instance. Okay, then we publish that template. Okay, what we have now is a field collection project that can now be published to the field users, but we don't have any field users that are set up on this map. Okay, before we go and add field users, let me just go through this map workspace settings. So you click these 3 bars here and then just go to positioning. What I'm doing now, although this has already been configured, I'm just also including it here on this map. So the positioning on this map, real-time GNSS, there's nothing here. It's saying configure real-time GNSS settings. As I said, this has already been configured in our geodatabase when we published the project. But what I'm doing now is I'm just ensuring that it's here as well. It wouldn't hurt. Okay, let's just call this Trimble RTX submeter. That is the accuracy on the devices, and this is on Trimble RTX from satellite. There is no fallback source because that's the only real-time positioning that we have available. Okay, let's put it for all compatible, so it copies the settings across all other map workspaces. And then the next thing to look at here is the offline GNSS correction. We can't change this. This has been locked. We cannot click here to disable. It's enabled. Offline GNSS corrections settings are locked because we set that up on our Terra Office plugin before we publish the project. So the theme that you should get by now is that a lot of these settings cannot be changed if you publish from ArcPro. Okay, that's really all we could do here now. What we are going to do now is go back to Trimble Connect and let us look at the team. The team. Okay, earlier I did have a user included in this project. Okay, but as you can see, there's only a single admin on this project. Now, team members is very specific. It is project based and not TerraFlex map based. So if you have 10 maps under our outer device phase 8, every user that you add here will have access to that data dictionaries. Okay, it makes it a little bit easier to deploy the work to the same team, but also it complicates matters if you want just very specific field crews or people to have access to a project. So it's very important that you ensure that everyone that's in here is the bare minimum necessary. Too many people in here, you are going to complicate matters, as they will have access to your field collection. Alright, so I'm the admin here. I'm just going to create a group here. I'm just going to call this group admin. Okay, another group, field users. Okay, so in admin, I'm going to add people to the group. Okay, so that's everyone, and then your groups, you can, it's basically I'm adding a filter. I am going to add another admin to this project as backup should something on my access, something happen to me or access. You want that disaster recovery or redundancy there, so that the work continues should something unforeseen happens. I'm going to add another user. This person that you add, the person that you add here also needs to have a Trimble ID account. Okay, I'm going to invite people to the group, and this is done by email addresses that the person used to register their Trimble ID with. This is our colleague Auntie Avela Mania. I'm going to add to group into our admin group. Invite okay, and admin should have refreshed by now. I'm going to add it's going to move Avela to the admin group just for easy filtering. Okay, I'm going to add 2 field users to this project for now. This is linked up to their TerraFlex accounts. Okay, and the registered email address on the registered TerraFlex accounts is what you need. We are using Gmail accounts here because the devices are Android based, so we had to set up Google accounts with them. Okay, so I'm going to invite people as users into the field users group. I'm going to go EWS GPS 001 at durban.gov.za. It's important to note that you need to have quite a bit of things set up and records readily available for you to deploy a system like this. You need to know all the user accounts, email addresses that were utilized to enable that, to ensure that you are able to invite the correct people to the correct projects, so that you don't have any time wasting. Okay, these are purely users. They can't make any changes to our project. And then invite. Just some quickly, while we wait for the invites and everything to be sent, this all happens now from the Trimble side. Then email invite is sent, but the field crew is automatically added to these projects. Okay, so I'm just waiting for this to change from pending to active. AWS GPS. No, I'm stupid. These are Gmail accounts. Let me just remove. Let me just remove them from the project. It's supposed to be at gmail.com. There was a bit of a brain freeze. Unfortunately, I'm going to remove that user. Bye bye. And also this one. It's supposed to be at gmail.com. Silly me. Okay, remove. Okay, I'm going to now invite people again to the project. I'm wondering if I can re-invite this one. Okay, let's invite people again. Make sure it's Gmail. And EWS GPS 002 at gmail.com. Okay. Invite. There we go. Active users. Two field users, 2 admins. Okay. So now the field users will have their TerraFlex on their device. Will then receive a notification that there is a new project. This is, there we go. That was the sound on the device to say that EWS GPS 001, you've been invited to a new project, and the Trimble TerraFlex will automatically synchronize the project, and they then are able to collect data on the project that we've just created. This was a long video. Apologize for that, a few ramblings here and there. And it's gonna come to we're gonna come to a close to this video very shortly. The editing of the forms and the conditioning is something that you'd have to get used to, how it works. Something you'll have to learn. It's not something that's it's not something that you're gonna pick up immediately. It's gonna be a bit of hit and miss. From experience, a lot of those conditions and other things were done online, the project published into the field device, and then you go out and test, is this form flowing in a logical manner? Is it behaving the way I conditioned it to behave? Okay, it's not working, I need to go and change this, I need to go and change that. So there's a bit of fine tuning that needs to take place until you are completely satisfied that the device will behave the way you anticipate it to when it is live with the field collection. So it will come with a bit of practice and experience, but it's not something that cannot be overcome. Okay, this will bring to a close the editing of forms and symbology on Trimble Connect on the TerraFlex map, and also the setting up of field users. You can add as many users as you want here, field users and office users, but the more people you add, the more complex management gets of the entire project. Okay, I'm now going to close this video. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for episode 6 of the 7-part series. It's Keshlin Reddy signing out.